This episode is brought to you by SPF. Wear it, you don't want to get crispy.
And also brought to you by the sun. Get your dose of sun now.
This is real garbage.
Sunny day.
Oh, sunny days.
Sitting in the living room doing podcasts.
Avoiding the sun so that my skin will last.
Oh. Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it. Sup?
What's up? Oh, no. Just enjoying the sun from afar.
Hell yeah. I know. I hate that we have to.
I know.
We have busy schedules, folks.
Yeah.
And I hate that sometimes we have to record these when it's fucking beautiful outside.
At least it's still early so that once we're finished, we can go out and play.
Good point. I'm going to go for a bike ride.
Ooh,
then I'm gonna
stay in your lane.
I go on the bike path. I try to stay off the road. But yes, when I'm on the road, I stay in the lane. I hate cyclists that don't follow the rules. No, then I'm going to do stand-up tonight.
Ooh.
Yeah. Logan's
Where?
Bar. Logan's
Nice.
Bar in Victoria, BC on Cook Street, folks. There's some good comedians in town right now. I don't think I'm one of them yet. Getting there, though. I'm getting nice and comfortable on stage.
Nice.
Getting some interesting material. Some people did not like the material last night, though. But you got to push the boundaries.
Yeah, you can't please them all.
Fuck them all. You got any summer plans this year?
I was going to go to California for the opening of Star Wars Land at Disneyland, but
Ooh. Oh, yeah. When is, you mentioned that a
May
few podcasts ago.
31st.
May 31st. Why not May the 4th?
Because I don't know.
Like, why would
I
they?
know, right?
Why would they not have planned May the 4th?
Right? I know. That would have
Come
been.
on, Disney.
Get it together.
Jesus Christ.
No, but here's the thing. It's opening on May 31st, but only phase 1 is opening. It's like fucking Marvel. So phase 1 is the land and the Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run ride. And there's not going to be any fast passes for either the two rides. So wait times are going to be like 3 fucking hours. And then for phase 1, between May 31st and June 26th, if you're planning on going to the park, you have to call ahead of time and make a reservation for free. It doesn't cost anything, but you have to make a reservation for you and your party for being in that park because, yeah, it's intense. So my boyfriend and his family and we were going to go to Star Wars Land, Disneyland for summer this year in July, but I don't know if that's happening now. It's all up in the air because someone said, their dad said that he'd have to cancel the trip because like house costs cost too much. So then,
Like when you're down there? Is it when house costs.
No, like his house here.
Yeah.
He texted the boys and said, I'm probably gonna have to cancel the trip this year because I have too much work that needs to get done on this house that I have to pay for.
Get the boys to work.
It's like
Get
chimney.
over there.
It's like chimney stuff, like repairs and stuff.
Well, that's like a weekend job if you got enough people, depending on what it is.
Yeah, I don't know. But so he told us it was canceled. So my best friend gave up her vacation days she set aside because someone else wanted those days.
Damn.
And then 2 days later, his dad texts them and is like, actually, just kidding. I found a way cheaper way to do it.
Yeah.
And Ellen was like, but
You
I
motherfucker.
gave the days away. And now he's like trying so hard to rally us and like get us to go on the trip. But the days are already gone for Ellen. Like we can't,
Yeah, that's that's
go
not cool.
those days.
Tell him to change the dates. Because like, you could probably get in there a couple weeks after, a month after. I like to think of Disney World, to me, it's like waiting for the movies to come out on Netflix. Mm-hmm. I'm just not going to, there's no way I would stand in line for 4 hours to ride one ride. Like, because how long is a ride?
Passes.
Like 5 minutes?
Yeah.
Maybe?
You know, the reason I would still want to go in like July or August is because all of those people who are willing to stand in those lines for 4 hours, the rest of the park is going to be completely empty. Like Splash Mountain is going to have like a 15-minute wait, I bet, you know?
You know what? I don't know. Maybe. But I feel like Disney World is just the kind of place where, you're one person thinking that.
Yeah.
How many other people are like, hey, guys, Star Wars is opening this May 31st. Let's go there. Everything else won't be that busy. And everyone else is thinking that same thing. And it's like, God damn it.
Ironically, Star Wars Land is not busy at all.
And yeah, there's shorter line. I was like, I'm not going to go there. There's like one kid standing there. I want to go again. This keeps going through. He's like, this is the best day ever. Someday I'm going to go.
You
wait.
have to.
Where is it in relation to Los Angeles?
Anaheim is probably about...
We talked about this a little while, like a couple podcasts
Yeah.
ago.
Anaheim's probably about depending on traffic, half an hour to an hour Uber ride away.
Okay. Yeah, so I plan on going down there in the fall, I'm thinking, to do that UCB improv thing. Oh, yeah. So I might go to Disney World when I'm down there.
Hit up
Disneyland, right?
Yes, Disneyland. Yeah. Disney World's in Florida.
World should be bigger.
The world is bigger.
Is it bigger?
Oh, it's huge.
Oh.
It's like 4 parks spanning across Disney World is bigger than Manhattan.
But Disneyland is the one that most people go to, right?
Yes, Disneyland is the very first park. It's the one that Walt himself was alive for and built himself, where he planned Disney World, but he died before it was finished being built. Yeah.
Interesting.
So Disneyland, I've never been to Disney World, but to me, Disneyland just feels like a lot more whimsical and magical because you can tell that Walt Disney himself was, his spirit, his energy was there and he put his heart and soul into that park.
Literally, they cremated him and put him in everything.
Maybe. Or he was cryogenically frozen like the rumors say.
You never know.
I would love that. Can you imagine him being thawed out for the 65th or 75th anniversary of Disneyland?
How crazy would he be, though? Think of it. You've been crying, because he
his
probably
wife's
got,
dead,
if he got
his
frozen,
daughters are dead.
Well, I mean, if you got frozen back in when, 1940 something, 50s, 60s?
He died in 60 something, 70s.
Okay, let's just say 1965.
Okay,
just for this story's sake. 1965. Times they be a different back then, and he pops out here in 2019 and starts looking around. Jesus. And then he calls someone sir, and they're like, I am not a sir, I'm a man. Blah, blah, blah. And he's like, what? And he starts freaking out. Then it's all of a sudden, hate crime, Walt Disney.
It's true.
It would be hilarious, actually. They should make a comedy sketch out of that or something.
Ooh,
Walt Disney gets frozen in 2025. Wow. Hilarity ensues.
Yeah. Oh, you're on a roll for ideas.
Yeah, I like that stripper
idea.
Real estate movie idea. It's a pretty good one. I gotta start shooting stuff. Collab with me, people. Let's shoot stuff. I got lots of ideas.
Yeah.
Well, so this was was this your choice?
Yeah.
This movie? Life. Mm-hmm. Not to be mistaken for the hilarious Eddie Murphy, Martin Lawrence movie Life.
Oh, yeah.
Back in that movie is fantastic. Hey, you gonna eat your cornbread? Damn, I'll eat my cornbread. So good. This one was, okay. It was made in 2017. Mm-hmm. 6.6 out of 10 on IMDb. 67% from the critics, 54% from viewers. Yeah. It wasn't
terrible.
I did not like watching it. I found that the cinematography. Jesus, I'm gonna stop playing with this chair. The cinematography was really good. I liked how they simulated space, the zero gravity of space, with just cables and cameras. Mm-hmm. Because that opening scene was 5 minutes long.
I know.
And it was one shot. And they said, I looked it up, it took a month to choreograph it, to figure it out. Buddy, the director, at one point was like, I don't think this is going to work. 2.5 weeks in, he's like, this is impossible. And he said he recruited some help from some other directors who were like, no, man, you can make it work. Just try this, try that. So that was pretty impressive. It was pretty neat. But you said you had so they're accepting the sample from Mars is the whole thing.
Yeah.
They're catching a sample with the arm on the International Space Station.
Yeah.
Would you like to give a synopsis of the film to the viewers and listeners?
Okay, so there are 6 astronauts on the space station. They've been up there for 8 or 9 months. They send a rover or the equivalent to Mars to get soil samples to see if there is any life beyond Earth. And then as the samples in the little rover are on its way back to the space station, debris hits it, which is why they have to catch it with the arm because it's coming in hot and off course. So then they catch the samples, they study them, and then there is life on Mars. They find a single-celled organism, and then it turns out to be super intelligent and fucks shit up.
And super muscular.
Oh my God, yeah.
It's all muscle and brain.
We'll get to that. So my first note was Rory is Ryan Reynolds just acting like himself. He's another actor that gets typecast like Jane Lynch to just play himself. Mm-hmm. And don't get me wrong, I love Ryan Reynolds. He's amazing in Deadpool. He is amazing in every single movie I've seen him in. He's really funny, really good at like improv. I loved him in Just Waiting.
I liked him in the Amityville Horror.
Yes.
That was when he did not play himself.
He
had
he
inklings
did a good
of himself,
job.
but he was fantastic in that movie. And jacked.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that just going, God, I can't eat that much. I can't get that big.
I know, yeah.
It's hard work.
That's a good point. But yeah, he excels in what you put him in, but a lot of times he is typecast.
Yep.
And I think with his case, it's just because he's got such a funny, sarcastic, witty personality that they're just like, just like, I don't even think they gave him lines, you know?
Probably not.
Like, they were probably just like, here's the guideline of how we want the scene to go. Like, just, you know.
Just say your stuff.
Yeah.
You're out in a spacesuit. We'll just dub it over later. So really, that's basically what they do. It's all ADR.
And And then I did say I liked the display of multi-country representation because space is like the final frontier and space exploration being shared equally by many different countries to me makes more sense than countries constantly fighting about who's going to go to space. Mm-hmm. Because like geniuses and astronauts and these people who are physically and mentally able to go to space, they're not all going to come from one region.
No.
However, it was literally just, this is just me being but there's no Canadians. It's what I thought it was 3 Americans. At first I thought Miranda was an American, but she's from the UK. So there's 2 Americans, there's 2 people from the UK, and then there's 1 Japanese guy, although later on in the dialogue, and then there's a Russian. And of course there's a Russian with the US, of course. But the guy, I first initially wrote down he was Japanese, but then a little later when they're doing some interview from space being projected into Times Square, I don't know how.
Oh, yeah.
The Russian, who was mission commander, said, with generous donations from the United States and China and Russia, I was like, okay, is he Chinese or is he Japanese? Because, what
are you, Hank Hill? Are you Chinese or Japanese?
Well, no, because they're different. And, if these people were on the space exploration based off of the countries that donated, yeah, that makes sense. But he, his arm badge, he's Japanese. And I watched this with subtitles on, and he's speaking Japanese. It says, speaking in Japanese. Huh. So, to me, it matters. You can't say, oh, China donated a shit ton of money to help fund this exploration, but didn't send someone from China on board.
Do astronauts take turns spending time up there, rotating through maybe? Maybe there's an astronaut from each country and they spend 6 months at a time, and all of a sudden it's like Canada's rotated out. They got the UK and Japan in there.
Maybe, but then I guess, but they've been on this exploration for 8 months.
Well, what's his face? Jillenhal's been up there for 473 days.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
Yeah, so what's he been doing? But anyway, so...
It's breathing in that fake air. He likes the hum.
Yeah. And then I also made a note, it keeps showing us that rat strapped down.
Yes. I put the lab mouse or lab rat got a ton of FaceTime.
Yeah.
In this movie, a ton. I'm there's probably a good 45 seconds of the rat.
Yeah, that rat has a good agent.
There's a lot, yeah. This rat got paid thousands of dollars.
Is that rat the one that played Stuart Little? Damn.
Oh, maybe.
So
at one point they reveal that Hugh is paraplegic.
Yes.
So his legs are just useless. I wanted to discuss this because you need you'd still need your legs in space, right? Because if, let's say you get yourself in a position where you can't reach anything to push off of with your arms, and you'd need to use your legs. I don't think that would, I think that would be a liability, having somebody who can't walk in space.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe he's super smart. I understand that. He's the only guy that can do what he does is what they said.
Because they said I wrote down their names and what they did. So Hugh was an exobiologist, which is now referred to as an astrobiologist, which is a scientist who studies life and organisms that are from space. So... yeah, Ryan Reynolds said, like, you're the only person that can do this. Like, obviously, in that space station, but there's got to be more than one person in 7 billion people who are astrobiologists, you know?
Yeah, it's like, come on, that's not really believable.
But maybe, on the other hand, you know, this was, like, for all we know, the timeline was in 2017, you know? So... with regards to, you know, like equal opportunities, equal rights, it could be realistic for NASA to send a man who is disabled and of color up there.
Yeah.
As like a diversity thing.
I suppose. Fine. I was like,
no,
it just seems interesting to me that
it definitely seems like a liability because, you know, if something goes wrong and if your gravity, you know, for some reason gets compromised, like...
if you need to rescue someone,
yeah,
but you can't use your legs, it's like, that just seemed...
and he wasn't a buff dude, so it's not like he could, like...
No.
You know.
And they have to train up there, too. Like, you saw Jake Gylenhal on the bike, and you saw what's-her-face running, and it's like, well, how come... So, like, how does he get around that? Like, you just do...
Yeah, and then Miranda was, like, stretching his legs out and moving them.
Yeah, it just seemed like that was much more work for another person on the space station, too. That didn't have much logic for me.
Yeah.
But maybe other people are like, shut up, Jeff, it's a movie. Fine.
But that's why we're here.
Yes.
Pick apart that shit.
To pick apart said movie. Sure. Video call during labor. I don't know any... I don't think there's any woman out there that would be like, yes, I want you to video me giving birth to this baby. Like, maybe just like set him up in the corner. Don't need him too close.
Yeah. And I don't understand that technology because sometimes, like, if you're on your phone and you have shitty, like, Wi-Fi, you know, your FaceTime shits out. So how the hell are you video calling from space?
They got all the satellites.
Well, I know space does.
Well, I mean, like, no, they're like the International Space Station. They have to have a solid signal.
Well, no, I know they do, but I'm talking about his wife.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
so she must have had, maybe he pulled some strings. We're like, listen, guys, I need a whole team on call for when my baby comes.
Yeah.
You gotta be there. Setting up its full tower outside.
Yeah, it's
sucking all the power out of the fucking hospital.
Generators go down.
Clear. We got no power. He's dead.
Yeah, it just, like, I didn't understand the leaps of technology and if it were capable. And I remember turning to Brandon when I was watching this, and I was like, I have no idea what I'm talking about, so correct me if I'm wrong. But as a software engineer, is this possible? Like, can I Skype you from space?
In a hospital?
Yeah. And he was just like, I mean, if the technology is there, yeah. And I was just like, that's not the answer I was looking for.
Shut up, Brandon.
Yeah, I'm like, shut up. Keep playing your fucking jet game.
So the time frame sure fucking jumped in this. Because they got, like, there's day 1, they catch it, day 2, then day 25.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
And then I guess within those 25 days, like, the specimen was hibernating or, you know, it wasn't moving. And then they discovered it was like a large single cell organism. They had nucleus, cytoplasm, flagella for its little doodads. And then here's my big spiel about the protos. Yeah.
Let me sit back and get comfortable.
I said, so this organism is like catatonic. And in today's Mars climate, it was found in the soil catatonic. So it's like alive on Mars, but it's not flourishing because they've just found it in the soil. And so the scientist, I said the science guy, Hugh, changes the controlled atmosphere to the Protozoic Earth, which is like less oxygen, more carbon dioxide. And then put a definition there for our viewers. The Protozoic was a time span between the appearance of oxygen on Earth and before complex life forms, roughly 2,500 million years ago to 541 million years ago. To reanimate as...
Continue.
to reanimate, as Ryan Reynolds says, this single-cell organism. Why? And then here's my thing. Like, why are humans always so obsessed with pushing the limits and the boundaries? Like, you've already
it to the limits.
like you've already found.
Walk along the razor's edge. Okay, I'm done. I'm good. Because we always want to play God.
I know, and that's the thing, especially with like scientists too.
Well, they thinking like if we discover something,
Yeah.
money, it's funding, it's grants.
True. But here's the thing. It's like by finding this big single-celled organism, you've already found that there exists life on Mars. So don't electrocute it awake.
Well, they needed to because they wanted to do all the testing up on the space station before they took it to Earth. So they had to do every single possible thing to try and get it alive. That's what I gathered from it. And it makes sense.
And then I said, so Hugh has woken up the little guy, scientists and their complexes. And then I also wrote down the characters and like what their roles on the space station was, because I had no idea I had no idea what Ryan Reynolds was doing.
Yeah.
I had no idea what Show was doing. I had no idea what Kat was doing. I just knew that Miranda and David were doctors and that Hugh was a science guy.
So did you figure we got definitions?
Yeah.
Ah.
So Kat was the mission commander. Kat was the Russian one. Rory, Ryan Reynolds, was a flight engineer. David was the crew medical officer. He was up there for 473 days.
Yep.
Miranda was Center for Disease Control and Prevention.
Oh.
And Show was a systems engineer. And then Hugh was the astrobiologist. So I appreciated that, like, everyone there had a sole role and purpose to make the whole machine work. So, because in other space movies I've seen, it's like people arguing about what to do, and it's like people sharing too many roles. I'm thinking of a specific movie right now that I cannot remember the name of, but it had
Armageddon.
No.
Don't wanna close my eyes.
Don't wanna fall asleep. It's that oh my God, that guy,
What happens in it? Give me some clues here.
I literally can't remember. I just know the actor.
Aliens.
No, it's not like Aliens or Sigourney Weaver. It's not an iconic space horror. It's not
Pitch Black.
It's not Event Horizon. It's not. You know that guy in not the original Captain America, but like Winter Soldier or whatever.
Bucky?
No, not Bucky.
Chris Evans.
He's like a scientist. He can play German, and he's like the Red Skull.
Oh, the dude from the Matrix? Yeah, dude from the Matrix.
Yeah, he was in it.
He's actually, he's Red Skull.
He took over Red Skull when Hugo Weaving didn't want to come back for.
Oh wait, so
Infinity
not
War.
Hugo Weaving.
No, not
That's
Hugo
the dude
Weaving.
from the Matrix.
Oh no, not Hugo Weaving. It was the guy who took over as the Red Skull when Hugo Weaving didn't. I'm gonna.
Well, there's
My phone's there again.
Yeah, you can't look it up. Okay, well, it doesn't matter.
But anyway, so that movie, like, people were arguing about, the protocol and the best thing, blah blah blah. And it just seemed like too many cooks in the kitchen. So I liked that one person was assigned each role in this.
Yeah. Well, that made it more realistic when shit started to go sideways and they couldn't really figure out what to do. Well, they still could figure out what to do. But that proper astronaut training, like you should all know what to do in event of an emergency.
Yeah.
So that was kind of real.
So then after he zaps Calvin alive, they FaceTime to Times Square in New York City to answer questions from little kids.
Mm-hmm.
And
this is where they name it Calvin.
Yeah, and then they name it Calvin after the school. That pea shot was cool. When the little girl was like, "How do you eat in there?" And then Hugh was like, "Yeah, that was cool."
CGI, probably.
Probably.
Yeah.
Watch it be in post, just a pea wrapped around like fish line.
Get the fucking line out of there. It's amazing what they could do with movies. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that the face, like So like I don't know, the technology to me made sense.
Yeah,
they got lots of satellites. They're space station stuff. They're good. But then he wakes him up in the lab. Or starts playing with it because they've woken it up now, and then he's bonding with it.
Oh my God, yeah. And then it starts off like as a really beautiful shot. Like you see Calvin like growing these appendages and like swaying around. Yeah. And then Hugh starts getting, a
little too attached to it.
Yeah.
A little too personal with it.
And then
because my next note is the scene where it grabs him. When it's starting to grow now, like it's getting bigger and it latches onto his hand.
First, he something happens where he doesn't shut the door or something, and then they're woken up from their pods by an alarm going off because something in the lab malfunctions.
What was it? Do you remember?
No, I literally, I rewound it like twice and I could not figure out what happened. All I know is that Hugh forgot to do something or didn't do something, and Miranda was like, "That's why you don't go in there without a good night's rest, and you." Don't leave there without triple check
sleep and shit. And
and then that's when Ryan Reynolds is like, I'm not qualified to do what you're doing. You're the only one that can do it. So stop calling it Calvin. Get your head out of the clouds. Stop. And that's when shit's starting to kind of go serious.
Yeah.
Because they have no idea actually what they're dealing with, and they all feel that Hugh is just kind of taking it lightly and only focusing on the fact that he's found life.
Would be pretty wild though.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But yeah, the way this thing breaks his hand that was crazy.
And I even said that they said that Calvin was all brain, all muscle, and all eye, all at the same time.
Was he all eye? Where was he seeing from? That's what I didn't get that.
There was a brief shot of how it saw, and it was the vampire vision from Dracula Untold.
Yeah, I was like, this is, I'm like, where are its eyes? How is it seeing?
Yeah.
Some ocular nerves in there.
But yeah, so he's all these things at once, and you're letting it out of its petri dish.
Yeah, not really contained that well.
Yeah.
And why wouldn't they have some sort of robotic arms they could use in those cases?
Yeah, not latex fucking gloves.
Yeah. Because those things they could have been at least stiff enough that they wouldn't break his hand. Too.
Yeah,
I got to look into that because I want to know if they should have something with robotic computer controlled arms.
Yeah.
And in that situation, they should have, because that's just unsafe practice. Yeah.
And then, so they mentioned that they've been doing this mission for 8 months, and I made a note. So what's David been doing up there? Because David's been up there for a year.
473 days.
Yeah, a year and 3 months. So what's he been doing up there, and why have they let him stay up there that long?
Masturbating.
Ew, can you imagine how much gum's just floating around
everywhere. Catch it! Oh.
And then, so after the security breach, Calvin goes back into his dormant stage where he's catatonic again. And then I was like, cool, problem solved. Torch it. You've seen this thing growing rapidly.
Jettison it into space. Just blow it out the airlock.
Yeah, but of course, no. And then, I said, just kidding, this is a movie. Obvi, they're going to do something dumb. And then, it's also a classic, I want to push this and follow this through because this could be a cure for everything, and this
good old deep blue sea logic.
Yeah.
The shark started to get smarter.
Yeah, it's like that classic, I have an ailment, so this find could cure me.
It's the human god complex.
Yeah.
The whole this is going to be the cure all for everything.
Yeah. So
then Ryan Reynolds dies. Okay, so that's where he gets his. He shocks the thing.
Yeah,
with the wand. The thing breaks the wand.
Yeah, he snaps the wand and then grabs onto his hand, and he suddenly has 5 tendrils, and it's weaving in between his fingers, and then it breaks his. Oh!
Snaps his fingers backwards. That was kind of rough. I was like, God damn, that looks like it hurts. So I don't understand in this part right here. I can't remember why they couldn't get Hugh out.
Yeah,
he passed out. That's why he passed out.
From
and then
shock.
the thing went back in there, couldn't get out the glove, went back in, snapped the wand in half, and cut it out. So this thing is super smart.
Yeah, already. And that just brings it back. Why are there strong latex gloves there? Like, they blew the budget so they could FaceTime to Earth for Madison Square Garden, and they were like, rubber gloves are fine. Like,
it's thick. Because he
Yeah.
even says at one point, he goes, how safe are those gloves? He's like, you're not going to get through it.
Yeah,
But yet it
shut
cuts
up.
through it with a piece of broken metal.
yeah.
Which is probably aluminum. No, not aluminum. It's probably steel.
Steel. But
How's this thing know that steel can cut latex?
I know. And
It
here's
learns.
it probably yeah. And when when Hugh was passed out and they saw Calvin and they were like, what is he doing? And he was floating into the glove outside. They should have immediately went in and gotten Hugh.
Get in, get him out. That's
Like-
why I hate about movies like this is they stand there watching. They're like, oh, it should be okay. He's
Yeah.
fine. I'm like, you guys have enough time to get in there right
Yeah.
now. Grab him, get him out, close this thing up, seal it, suck the atmosphere out of it.
Yeah,
Because
and
that would have killed it.
right? Yeah, because he can only survive in that protozoic atmosphere.
Which isn't in the entire room.
No, so I
Because
don't
Hugh's breathing atmosphere.
yeah. So I don't get how Calvin is able to survive.
Yeah, that's a big loophole right there.
Yeah.
A plot hole. I just realized that. Yeah, I would have got right out of there and be like,
Yeah,
Done.
like how is he surviving in the space station? And the only thing I can see
evolving maybe.
yeah,
Yeah.
is like, oh, he's growing, but still you can like
I think the evolution makes more sense because the thing evolves into whatever wiped out the entire,
True.
life on Mars. It's according to this.
Mm-hmm.
But how long ago? Like eons ago?
Yeah.
It must have been because
Yeah.
let's say there was life on Mars. There would have
2,500
been
million years ago.
okay, yeah. So there would have been evidence of buildings and cities and landscapes and stuff. And there's nothing. So maybe it's just Martian dust covering all that stuff. Can you imagine if they started excavating and found like
Fuck.
remnants of cities? That'd be fucking wild.
Yeah.
Maybe they will.
Maybe.
Elon Musk, get on it.
Yeah. So then
So yeah, Reynolds goes in.
yeah, and then heroically gets him out, but then Calvin latches onto his leg. And then David like locks him in there. And I'm like, okay, so you were so ready to break protocol and get Hugh out of there and break quarantine, but like now that it's
Don't give a shit about Ryan.
yeah, fuck you, Ryan.
Budget didn't allow him to stay any longer.
Yeah.
They're like, man, we can only pay you for like 32 minutes, 39 minutes.
So
39
then-
minutes in, I wrote, bye, Ryan.
Yeah, he gets it off his leg with an oxygen candle, which they later use as bait. So I don't know why it burned him off because he likes oxygen. I don't know.
Well, I wrote down why, and again, why couldn't they just suck the atmosphere out of that lab?
Yeah.
And the thing would have been toast.
Yeah.
Done. Easy.
So then Ryan Reynolds
Tries to flamethrow this thing with, I don't know what that is.
and
Jerry rigs some sort of homemade flamethrower.
and yeah, and I said fire on a spaceship where everything is oxygen rich. Sure,
Yeah, because it would have
that would have torched the whole place.
movie over.
And so Ryan Reynolds is like flame throwing Calvin, and Calvin's running around. Oh wait, we skipped over the rat part.
Oh yeah, it kills the rat. I wrote, what
Oh.
did it do to that rat? Because it kind of sucks the life right out of it,
Yeah, it.
like in a mummy movie or something.
Yeah, it like wrapped.
Raiders of the Lost Ark.
It wrapped its arms around it, and I thought it was going to strangle it, but then
I
it
thought.
like encapsulated it like a condom, and then like and its fur was flying everywhere, and like it was all bloody. But then there was still a body. It was really weird.
Yeah,
like
there's
I
no
don't
explanation
know.
to it.
No, and he doesn't do that to like
Doesn't do it to anybody. Doesn't do it to
people.
Ryan Reynolds when he gets
No.
in there and
Oh, that pissed
through
me
his
off
face.
too.
Blech.
So Ryan Reynolds is like trying to flame throw Calvin out and kill him. Doesn't work, obviously. He's out of fuel, and then he's looking around, and Calvin like flies into his mouth. He's got like 6 tendrils, and you're telling me you're not gonna grab onto one and like hold on?
yeah, he could have got his fingers behind him.
And he
Didn't
was
try
right.
to fight it very
His
much.
hand was like on his face the whole time. Like you don't.
Well, we couldn't tell how slimy it was. Okay, this is the problem I have with this thing. It sounded like it was slimy and slippery, yet it left no trail.
Yeah.
There was no liquid from it sloshy
true.
sound. Everywhere was like,
Yeah, it was like flapping around. Ew.
it's like banana noises.
Ew.
But there was no slime.
Yeah.
Oh, this scene reminded me of a time where I was living in downtown Victoria, and I just come home from a 2-week shift at work up north, and I just smoked a joint, and I was like, yeah, I'm going to watch a movie. I just finished stretching. My yoga mat's on the floor, And I lay down on the couch as I hit play, and I look over, and there's a big wolf spider just giving her across the yoga mat. And I'm like, I look for something to squish it with, and I grab like a DVD case, and I turn around. I'm like, no, it's gone. Oh. I never found it. I had a big sectional couch. I flipped the couch up. I'm looking under the table, looking underneath everything, like just that uneasy feeling. I had sat there watching the movie for the first hour with my knees up in front of me. Just, where is he? Oh. Never found him. Those things were like a big wolf spiders.
Maybe it's inside you.
So it was, no. I wonder if that is true if we actually eat spiders in our sleep. I don't think we do. Maybe a couple.
Yeah.
They're like, you can eat 18 spiders in your life. I'm like,
I don't think so.
I've only eaten 12 by choice.
Yeah. So right off the bat, after they killed Ryan Reynolds, after using him for marketing for everything, I liked that.
Well played.
Yeah. And it was a suspense horror after that because you had no idea how Ryan Reynolds was dying or what was happening until like his eyes started bleeding and he started
up blood.
Yeah, and that blood scene with no gravity, was
pretty cool.
Cool. And and then when Calvin emerges, he's so much bigger. And again, I'm like, how are you surviving in that climate?
Absorption. Bitch? Yeah, evolving or something. So I love how this alien cuts the communications on the International Space Station because now it has a full comprehension of how computers work.
Yeah.
So again, it had to have been a full-on alien race on Mars where he learned this shit, learned how to use computers and stuff. Because how could an alien life form just understand, like, well, if I cut these wires here, they won't be able to communicate with the planet. I know what's up. That was unbelievable.
And that's what I said. I was like, Kat's phoning into the command, and Calvin cuts the system. Okay.
Yeah. Oh, and then we find out it can survive in space, in the vacuum of space. So it doesn't even need an atmosphere to live.
Yeah.
So I guess it had to be evolving then.
I guess.
Because there's no way you can't breathe without atmosphere.
And then, so Kat's going to go out and try to fix the comms, and then David's talking about how they can get into their escape pods and go. And then Miranda's like, Earth is priority. Nothing goes down. And then when David says like, oh, we have lifeboats, nobody has told David that in the 8 to 9 months they're there, everyone was told, you're not going to Earth. If shit goes sideways, you've all signed forms.
Yeah.
Basically DNR
Nobody
forms.
let it slip.
Yeah. And so, and I said that too. So Calvin continued to survive without oxygen and food in space. But then I wrote, Kat's badass motherfucker. Because Kat's out there. She looks in the coolant and the coolant's all gone. And then Hugh comes on comms and he's like, well, it's possible that Calvin had the coolant as food because water or some shit. And then Kat had David list all the forms of water on board, and he's like drinking, like, but yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
And then Calvin just comes out of the coolant and she seals it so he can't get back in. I don't know how he got in the first place and why her putting the cap back on doesn't prevent him from getting back in the second place.
Yeah, the continuity on what he could get through and in and out of was strange. Because, he gets out there, then he cuts a hole in her suit. They never really explain that.
He wraps himself around her leg, and she's a badass motherfucker, unclips, and jumps.
Yeah, that was kind of cool.
Yeah. And then she's, like, noticing in her space helmet that there's, like, moisture.
Yeah.
And she said that Calvin had, like, crushed or broken her coolant.
Oh, that's what it was.
Thing.
Yeah, he squeezed it and broke it.
Mm-hmm. So then she's drowning in her helmet.
That was kind of tough to watch.
Yeah. And then Calvin breaks her coolant. And then she, rather than initially, like, trying to get back in from the valve, she realizes she's going to drown. Calvin's on her suit. And, like, she sacrifices herself and closes the hatch. Yeah, and Calvin gets back in. And the way he gets back in...
Through the thrusters.
Yeah.
Which is silly. I'm like, okay, this thing is super smart now because it's obviously going to these thrusters to push this thing down into the orbit or below orbit into the Earth so it'll crash.
Yeah.
This thing is super smart.
And then it's going into the thrusters, and then Sho is like, yeah, it's a good idea. Let's just blast fuel and burn him so he can't get in. And then...
It's kind of a sound idea.
Well, yeah.
Fire doesn't work, though.
No, but not for an engineer because he wastes fuel and they're
a lot of it, too.
Yeah, and then he's like, shit, we're going to like orbit back into Earth. I need to use the last of the fuel to get us back to like...
Yeah, he probably should have known that. But panicky, scary situation. Trying to play devil's advocate here. I fucking hate it. I didn't really like this movie, so I don't care.
No, and I even said that. I'm like, Calvin gets in through the thrusters and you waste fuel keeping him out for a few minutes, you're fucked.
We've talked about the alien viewpoint. I thought it was, I said, yeah, is it in Hugh now? At one point, they go see Hugh.
So...
And it was, wasn't it? It was hiding in him.
Yep, more notes, more paragraph. I said, so when I first watched this at exactly an hour, Hugh says, life requires destruction. Calvin doesn't hate us, but he has to kill us. And at first I thought it was ironic because Calvin was on his leg. But then rewatching it, when Hugh says, Calvin doesn't hate us, but he needs to kill us, he puts his hand like low-keyly on his leg and looks at it, and then that's when he goes into like cardiac arrest, and then earlier on, if you rewind it a little bit, for most of the scenes, Hugh's legs are like roped together, but then for that scene, they weren't anymore, and when his legs were roped together and he saw like that plant floating around in space, and he thought it was Calvin, it makes sense that from there, he knew Calvin was in there. He undid his legs and kind of offered his leg to Calvin because he admired it so much. And then when he's saying Calvin needs to kill us, he's looking down at his leg and like touching it. And then he goes into cardiac arrest, and then they take off his pantsuit and they're like, oh my God. Like, so.
There he is. Yeah. All right. This was another one of those ones where I just kind of zoned in and out a couple times. I was like, well, what did they just say?
And then he kept apologizing. He was like, I'm sorry. And I said, he says I'm sorry a lot. Bitch ass Hugh, damn it. Letting Calvin soak up your leg.
I wrote down at one point, why'd Hugh die? I wasn't 100% sure on that.
Blood loss, I think. Because when Calvin came off of his leg, like, Calvin probably like ate all the blood and the tissue and the muscle and I don't know.
That's a stretch.
I know.
That's a stretch. Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
But yeah, it doesn't make sense.
No, I wrote down like, why did Hugh die? Like they didn't really explain that at all. But he's all of a sudden just dead.
And then I said now after that, when Calvin unfurls off his leg, it looks like a cross between a face hugger and one of those bird things from Avatar.
Oh, it looked. I can't even really. It looked similar, a liquid version of the Monsters from Kong Skull Island.
Yeah.
With, just no arms, just all flappy legs. That's kind of what I thought. Or what the mom ends up looking like on Beetlejuice. The long face. I think it's the mom. Yeah, it's the mom. Where are we at in this movie now? Like, this is about an hour. A little over an hour.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Calvin swallows a tracker.
Yeah, off of Hugh's leg.
So now all of a sudden it's just stupid.
Yeah.
Like it's been so smart. It understands everything, computer electronics, the way humans think. But now it's like, oh, what's this? It accidentally eats a tracker. I'm like, I don't think the thing's that stupid. But it's just to give them now we can follow it. This is great. Now we know where it is. I thought that was just a dumb little gimme.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, we got to give them some sort of advantage. Well,
yeah.
Why? No, you don't need an advantage at all. You're being outsmarted by an alien monster.
And then it shows like Miranda bleeding a little bit. And then we see the predator vampire vision of Calvin tracking the blood. And I'm like,
that has eyes.
Really?
Where?
Really? It would have made more sense for it to have like predator vision based on like
that's what I was just thinking.
Blood or heat sensing.
I can't
not
do that clicking noise.
Fucking. Oh,
that's not kind of.
That was creepy though. Ew! Oh my god. But yeah, so then they trap him into Zathura or whatever that pod was called.
Yeah.
And then they like start suffocating him, and he's bouncing around like a ping pong ball, and I'm like, okay.
Well, I don't understand. Yeah, they're suffocating it, but we've already seen it can exist in space.
Yeah.
The vacuum of space where there's no atmosphere. So suffocating it's not doing anything. They're like,
No.
we'll just vent it out of here. But the thing just seems to be able to float through space and come back.
Yeah.
So it's no escaping it. And then the rescue, the cavalry comes.
But it's not a rescue.
It's not a rescue. It's Firewall 3.
Yeah, they're pushing the station into deep space to avoid Calvin from being on Earth, which I
agree with it.
I agree with it, but
Life of few for many. The lives of few for many.
I agree with the idea of it, but like I said earlier, David had no idea.
Yeah, that was a bit of a curveball for him.
Yeah. He was like, what?
He should have got a vacation off of there, but he didn't want to leave anyway because he loved it up there. Because he's like, oh, I don't like being down there. Like, the older I get, the more I understand him.
Yeah.
Send me to space. But, so they start pushing him away. How do they... Yeah, it's as they're floating away, they come up with their escape plan, right?
Yeah, because...
The jettison pods?
Yeah, because Show thinks the cavalry, or the ship is a rescue. He goes... Calvin follows. Calvin is on Show, and Show lets go and tries to fly into deep space so that, he'll leave. Obviously that doesn't happen. Calvin stays on board, and then they're running out of oxygen and stuff. And then after a while, after reading Goodnight Moon, they have this...
and they're freezing now.
Yeah. They have this idea about there's the 2 lifeboats, and... they'll use the oxygen candles to attract Calvin to one of them, and then David will take Calvin into deep space, and Miranda will go back to Earth, and she's like, no, I'll take Calvin. And he's like, no, I literally hate it down there.
It's like, I'll just kill myself. It's cool.
Yeah.
All right.
And then, so the plan, once again, the plan works with telling us that Calvin is now stupid and going after these oxygen candles, follows him into the pod with Jake Gyllenhaal. And then, they're getting ready to leave, and Miranda in her pod is making that black box.
Yeah, the recording just in case she doesn't, in case she dies on the reentry.
Yeah. And then Calvin, wraps himself around Jake Gyllenhaal and then does the hand thing, or so you think, to Jake, wraps his hand around it. Mm-hmm. And then it shows one pod going to Earth, one pod going to deep space, and Miranda recording her stuff. And I was like, oh, yeah, we were talking about this classic ending.
They edited this well.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
What a twist.
What a twist. So the pod crashes in the ocean somewhere in, the Philippines or Thailand or something. Thailand. And 2 fishermen approach it from the boat, and they look in the window, and all of a sudden you hear this ominous and it's Calvin plastered all over the walls, and Jake Gyllenhaal's like, I have goosebumps talking about it. That was and these fishermen I guess don't understand no, don't, and head shakes. And they open the door, and then it pans out, and you see more boats flying towards the thing. Yeah, and then
so good,
right? And then it flashes to Miranda, and she got hit by debris and is now going into deep space because all of our system communications are off. So then with the twist ending, it kind of insults us for the last time by saying Calvin was stupid enough to follow the oxygen candles, yada, 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 but then smart enough to grab onto Jake Gyllenhaal's hand and steer himself to Earth rather than deep space.
Oh, that's what he did?
Yeah. Because you saw the
what?
Thing moving.
I didn't see that part. I honestly just thought it was just they got mixed up. The trajectories got mixed up, and that's all it was. And you were just led to believe that it worked out right.
Oh no!
But
Calvin maneuvered his way.
Oh my god!
Yeah.
Stupid, smart, single-celled organism.
Yeah.
Multi-celled organism now. Ugh. Yeah. Okay. I liked the acting was great.
Yeah.
The acting was fantastic. Everybody was really good in it. It had so many plot holes, though, and just continuity issues and shit, and just the hard to believe science behind the alien. Because I guess it is an alien race, so we could be like, well, it's an alien race. We don't understand. But
they were calling it a Martian alien.
Calvin. I don't know. It was an okay movie. I didn't hate it. I didn't really love it, though. I don't want to watch it again.
No,
because it was, it's one of those. This is the second time I watched this movie.
This is the 3rd time. I watched it in theaters when it came out because the trailers made it look like it was going to be the new Alien.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's what I thought about at the end when Miranda's screaming in her pod. I thought of Alien's tagline, "No one can hear you scream in space." And I was like, haha. But yeah, I thought it was going to be a new take on like space horror and Alien. And it definitely had potential, but they let us down with those like plot holes and like is
the
Calvin
alien
and
itself looked lame.
Yeah.
I wasn't impressed by how it looked. It could have been like could have looked like an alien or evolved into some sort of scary looking alien.
Yeah, like even in Prometheus, you know, like you saw the evolution of the aliens.
I gave it. I don't even know what I give this. I give it like a 4.5 out of 10. Like I said, it wasn't terrible. I give it a 5, right down the middle. 5 out of 10. 5 shitty looking aliens out of 10.
I'd probably give it like a 6.5 out of 10. The soundtrack was really good. It made you feel what you needed to feel in those ominous, disappointing moments. That ending, I liked.
Music in the ending was good.
Yeah. I liked how everyone had their roles and it was like an equal team where everyone depended on each other. And there wasn't that like too many cooks in the kitchen conflict, you know. And I liked how genuine they played out the like God complex through the scientist who was disabled. Like, cause that's totally believable.
Oh yeah.
But
he's lost something he can never get back, and he
wants to get
have
back.
something he can control.
Yeah. The only stuff that I like really didn't like were the plot holes, the inconsistency about how intelligent Calvin is. The creature concept was kind of, you know, not there.
Yeah.
And the fact that, you know, there wasn't equal representation with the countries. Hello, Canada.
Where's Canada, guys?
Yeah.
It's our arm on that thing.
Yeah.
Canada arm. Isn't that what they call it? The Canada arm? The
so.
big arm on the International Space Station?
It sounds right.
I think it's the Canada arm. I think we built it anyway.
Just swap out, you know, one of the Americans for a Canadian.
Life 2.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All Canadian cast, eh? You got some of those guys from the East Coast there.
Where's Calvin, eh?
Well, we got to keep this thing up on the International Space Station before we get her down to Earth there, boy.
I like the idea that...
All new feed cast.
I like the idea that it set itself up for a sequel, but I know that there's not going to be.
No. God, I hope not.
A sequel would be so stupid because obviously Calvin's on Earth. It's going to fuck shit up now. So I like the open-ended ending where you can make your own assumptions. Like Calvin's on Earth now. Like, will he survive in the oxygen? Probably, honestly.
Probably.
Maybe the pollution will kill him, like in War of the Worlds, you know? A little bug killed those aliens, like...
I think if a sequel showed up, he would just jump into the ocean, eat everything in the ocean, every single piece of sea life, and then just start mowing down people.
Yeah, because he'd be huge.
Yep, and people would be getting weak because that loss of fish and every single mammal in the water would be like, oh crap, there goes half of the 1/3 or 2/3 of the food source for the planet.
Yeah,
I think it's a third. I can't remember. It's up there.
It's a lot.
Yeah. Get rid of those, then all of a sudden you're like, oh shit, everyone starts getting weak. They're easy prey. He just feeds on all of us.
Yeah.
We're toast.
But I did like the thought that, you know, there's a very real possibility that with space exploration, something could come down here and like fuck everything up.
Oh, totally.
So I like that.
Someday.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll see some aliens.
Maybe.
We bow to you, alien overlords. What do you want us to do? What? Next, walk of shame.
Yeah.
On the next episode. You didn't like it.
There were some parts that I liked and I chortled at, but mostly I was like,
this is going to be good. You're eye rolling, and I actually really like this movie. I was very surprised, but we'll talk about it on the next episode of Real Garbage.
Yeah.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
This is Real Garbage.